My name is April Elaine Shipp, and I'm from Southfield/Auburn Hills, Michigan. I grew up in Detroit on the northwest side. I went to Mary Wright High School. I've been quilt making for over 20 years, mother of 2 children, one of 13 children myself. My mother was a quilt maker, but died when I was very young. I taught myself through watching public television. Georgia Bonesteel would come on early in the morning, and I'd wake up to watch her talk about lap quilts. So I ordered her books from the PBS, Channel 56 in Detroit. And I bought the books, and I began to explore the wonderful world of quilt making. I've always made my own garments, but I wanted to try to make it the quilts as well. And I love it. It's my passion. What's on the wall today started with a friend of mine, a coworker named Chris. Had seen an Oprah Winfrey show with this artist on there who made a book called, The Faces of Our Past, with women's history. And I didn't buy the book at first. I went to go see the book at the bookstore. And I went to go see the book. And when I got there, in the book was a photograph of a woman and her son who had been lynched in 1911 over the Canadian River Bridge. At that point in my life, I never knew they lynched women. I thought they lynched men, criminals, but not women. We'd be exempt. I'd be okay if I lived back then. That's what I told myself. So upon seeing her photograph, I closed the book and I went to my car and I cried and I prayed and I said, Father God, someone needs to do something about this. So not meaning me, but just someone needs to fix this problem. So I was driving in my car, and I believe at that moment, the voice of God said to me, find their names and make a quilt. This sounds really, I know, crazy, but this is how it happened for me. So I says, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to find the names. It's too big for me. Find somebody else. I don't want this job. This is a big job. Finally, I succumbed to making the quilt. It took me 3 years to make Strange Fruit. Strange Fruit weighs 12 pounds and has the names of the African-American men, women, and children who were lynched and murdered in this country in a 100-year period. This is not just African-American history, but this is American history. This is American history. In making Strange Fruit, I cried every day. I cried every time I read a name or a story of someone who had died in this horrific way. And I wanted to honor their memory. I didn't want to show them hanging from trees or on fire. I wanted to show them, give them dignity, and give them the love and honor they need, and that's what I wanted to do. Well, I had to pray a lot, because in making this quilt, you cannot see the names of these people and not cry every day. You can't. You cannot remove yourself from their humanity. So every day, I would go in my basement, and first I thought about making it I wanted to use black fabrics. I wanted to use black cottons, black wools, silks, satins. I have corduroy, I have denim on there, representing the person's status in life, their class. You can be rich or poor and be lynched in this country. I wanted to show their names in gold thread. Gold symbolizes, they're precious to God, in the eyes of God, the gold, that's what that means. And every day I would just type the names in my computer first, in my software. From that, it goes into a disc. From the disc, it goes into the machine. And I would sew out 3 panels a day. 3 panels a day for 3 years. I did that. 3 panels. It takes about an hour to sew 1 panel. So the machine's going for 3 hours a night. And then I go to bed and get up in the morning and go to work, get the kids ready for school, and come back and sew 3 more hours a night until it was all done. Until it was all done. There are 2 nooses on Strange Fruit. I felt I wanted people to see. I didn't want, because the people whose names, I call them my 5,000 souls that I carry with me on the quilt. There are more than 5,000 names, but I happen to just say my 5,000 souls. I wanted people to see the method which was used in taking their lives. Right now people are running around putting nooses in university campuses and everywhere. It's not a joke. I have 5,000 souls on my cloth that say it's not a joke. It's not so. It's a very serious thing. I think enough hasn't been done dealing with that issue, People may come here and think, why does she have nooses on this thing? They need to be there. They need to be there. I didn't know how to tie them. I had to have a coworker, friend of mine, tie them for me. He brought the rope in. He told me what kind of rope it would be used, how many knots was in each, he told me how to do it. He did it for me. And when he first gave me the bag with them in there, I was sick. I physically was sick. And I don't want to cry. Oh, God. I couldn't open the bag. For about a month, I couldn't open the bag. So here I am walking around, and he brought them to work. And you can't just have those things, at work or anywhere. And I have a bag with 2 nooses on it under my desk. And I couldn't bring it home, and I couldn't open it. And when I would touch them in the beginning, I was sick. I couldn't do it. So I had to go and pray some more for strength to be able to touch the nooses, to be able to do that. And once I could handle them, then I began to sew them on. I think that with every stitch that I sewed, when I was putting the nooses on, I felt someone's pain. Because keep in mind, the people whose names are on my quilt, I always try to bring it home like this. Everyone on there has a mother, has a dad, probably fell in love, got married, or dreamed of doing those things, held down a job, went to school, played outside. They did those kinds of things that we do, They're just like you and I. It took me 3 years of making the quilt. I had friends who say, because I would only work on that. I only worked on that for 3 years. And as a quilt maker, I usually have like 10 things going at one time, but I had to get this one finished, get this out of my body, get this out of me, give birth to this quilt. So I only worked on strange fruit. So my friends would always say to me, oh, she's still lynching people, she's still lynching people. I'm like, I'm not lynching anybody. That was painful to hear. She's lynching folks. I'm not lynching people. I'm making this for them, But when I got it done, when I finally finished strange fruit, I felt light. I felt light. I didn't realize what it was when it was finished. And what happened, it was hanging at the Charles Wright Museum in Detroit, and I would go visit strange fruit. And I was visiting it one day, and there was a young woman in front of me looking at strange fruit. She was taking down notes. I'm like, what is she doing? Why is she taking down notes? I don't understand what she's doing, So I asked her, I says, what are you doing? She goes, well, I just found my grandfather's name on your quilt. At that moment, it became real to me. At that moment, it became real. You know what I mean? They're real people. And I wanted to honor their memory. I dedicated the quilt to 2 people, but Strange Fruit is a song that was sang by Billie Holiday. She had gone, it was sang by Billie Holiday. It's about bodies hanging from trees. How does it go? It's southern trees bear such strange fruit, blood on the vines and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit is hanging from the poplar trees. I probably didn't say it right, but that's the gist of the song. And the quilt is dedicated to Ida B. Wells, who was a journalist, African-American journalist, who was born in 1862, who fought for anti-lynching laws in this country, because up until then, it was not illegal to lynch someone. You could lynch someone, photograph their body in the tree, put a U.S. post stamp on it, write, had a great time, wish you were here, and put it in the U.S. mail, and that was not illegal. Try it today. Try it today. Try getting pictures of child pornography and putting a stamp on it. It's the same thing to me. So that's what I dedicated it to Ida B. Wells. Also, the woman whose photograph was in the book, her name is Laura Nelson, and she was lynched in 1911. May, I think, 15th, over the Canadian River Bridge in Oklahoma. I dedicated it to her as well. She's my sister. I'm sorry. Laura was accused of stealing a cow, she and her son. And the mob came into her home, and they raped Laura, and they lynched she and her son over the bridge while crowds watched. She was about 35 years old. And in seeing Laura's picture has changed my life more than any other photograph I've ever seen. So it's dedicated to to Ida Wells, Lord Nelson, and Billie Holiday, and to all the victims of lynchings and murders, known and unknown. Strange fruit is a labor of love. Receive it as such. It is like going to 5,000 funerals at once. Receive it as such. Honor their memory as such.